like I said, this is going to be the last week that we focused on any kind of structure of passing for the time being. With this, we've worked a lot of different pressure passing and just like introductories to positions. I've tried to give a lot of explanation towards reactions that you might get when you're there to try to expedite the learning process too. But vertical passing is a little bit different because we're coming through, we're not really trying to establish a chest connection so much as we're trying to control our partner's feet and place a wedge in front of the hip. And if we can do those two things, we can generally come down into a passing position somewhat quickly. I would say it's more reminiscent of like the J-point camping that we did over any of the other styles of passing because we're threatening the guard pass before we actually come down and complete it, okay? I'm gonna show you guys the same way today that I did yesterday, where we kind of break it down into two parts. I'll show you the way that I learned it that I think makes it the most efficient in terms of understanding body mechanics, and then I'll show you guys the way that I'm gonna do it if I'm actually trying to use it to complete the pass and come down into a really solid position, okay? So to start here, we'll have one partner who goes to a supine position, okay? So they go flat to their back, and they go ahead and they chamber the knees to the chest. Okay, so in a situation like this, as long as his knees are coming forward and I can at least put on one side a situation where his heel is lower than his knee, I should be able to step across. So when I'm playing, generally I'm gonna come down and contact his legs. It's not necessarily something that I absolutely have to do just for this drill, but it definitely makes it more applicable. So when I'm here, typically I'm gonna control one leg around the point of the knee because I wanna kind of turn his hip over to that side, that being the side that I'm gonna work towards. And then on the other side, I'm gonna control a little bit lower down towards either the midpoint of the shin, or I might actually control the foot itself, but this is kind of the angle that I'm looking for. From here, I'm taking a step across, and I wanna try to take my, my foot, the ball of my foot particularly, towards the waistline. Okay, if I can do that, my second leg here, as long as I can step over the top and stuff it, I should be able to start to apply this structure of passing. So I step past the point of the knee, and then immediately I turn in and I work here to be almost pigeon-toed, both big toes facing each other, and immediately my shins start to come together and my knees come together as well. So I'm capping above the point of his knee here towards the quad. My left leg is going to be the wedge that threatens the pass, like I said, like the J-point camping. And then I'm gonna actually work to turn back towards his legs. And when I pivot and I spiral back, the idea here is that my partner is typically gonna be trying to use his hands, but he's not gonna be able to really figure out what to do, and his legs start to come up. So when his legs start to come up, what I'm looking to do is on both feet connect my thumb to the joint of the big toe here. Once I control both feet, then I can look to release. But when I release, I'm gonna high step. So I'm gonna step my right leg up, and then I'm gonna immediately thread through, coming back on an angle like so, where my two knees start to come together. So there is some potential if I were to come down to like a reverse knee on belly, where my legs are separated, that my partner can frame, and he can thread this outside leg into the backside and chop me down. And if he chops me down, I enter into like a backside leg entanglement, which is really, really bad for me because I can't hand fight. So that's what we try to avoid, and that's why we're building the mechanic of stepping with our knees together versus stepping wide. So again, when you guys come in here, you guys can think about controlling like a thumb post, a midpoint, or the foot here, but we step across relatively deep, and then we stuff the leg, we step over, we come pigeon-toed, we clamp everything together. I turn back to face if I wasn't already. I control with thumbs towards the joints of the big toe, 4 fingers wrapping the top side of the foot. And then I high step, come down with my knees together, and then you guys can just go ahead and reset. So you're never actually making the level change, you're just working that motion of getting above with the wedge. Does that make sense for everybody? All right, guys, let's drill that really fast. Hands up, 1, 2. All right, guys, so now trying to get into an application that's more applicable in a live scenario. So there's a couple of things that can potentially happen. One of them being, like I said, the guy entering into a backside leg entanglement. Another thing that can be pretty common is like if I come through here and I do pass, but I step with my feet too close together, my partner can essentially come through tying up my legs, and they can create scenarios where I get off balance. And if I get off balance, or even if I come through on this angle and I don't do a good job of driving my weight back diagonally across my partner, he can fight up towards underhooks, and then he can fight to put my back on the mat. So we have to be intelligent with how we go about our level change to try to avoid those two things, both the leg entanglement and the wrestle up. So when we're fighting, instead of committing 2 hands to the legs, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna commit 1 hand to the foot, and then I'm gonna come to a cross shoulder post, that being probably the most important detail. So again, when you guys come through here, we can take 1 step, we can take our 2nd step. When we come over, this leg is now the wedge. This is what's putting him in danger of being passed. But I don't stay here. Immediately, as I'm turning back and I'm connecting to the far leg, because that's the leg that can potentially weave over the top. And then I'm coming down into a thumb post. And as I come down into this thumb post, I don't want to stay flat-footed with my left leg, the leg that's putting him in danger. I want to try to come on towards the ball of my feet, or my foot rather, rotate with my knee coming towards the opposite hip, so going past the point of the navel, and I want to drive pressure into my shin. As I'm doing this, my left hand is posting the shoulder, keeping his armpit, his shoulder isolated towards the mat, and then I'm taking this step up. Instead of high stepping in the same fashion, what happens here is as I'm controlling this leg at a distance, my heel comes to my knee, my foot rotates through, and then if I need to pressure to kind of staple his hip back to the mat, I can do so. And then this is going to give you options in how you actually go about completing the pass, okay? I'll end up showing one more continuation to this. So again, when you're here, it's 1, 2. As we start to come down, we're kind of leaning. I'm angling my knee in, and then it's heel to knee, and then I can step down. Like I said, I like to give a little bit of positive pressure, my shin to the top side of his quad, just to create a little bit of separation so that if he goes to escape his hips, I'm already contacting, and then if he tries to come back in, again, the wedge of my shin and my knee are there. So here one more time, a little bit faster, it's like this, and then I'm coming through and I'm controlling. If I need to invert my hand to get a better catch or to potentially threaten something like a leg lock, I would not personally sit back into a toe hold, but you can invert your hand if you need to. The only problem here is like if my arm is away, my elbow is exposed, so if he does sit up into an underhook, it's a little bit easier. If my hand is here with my thumb out, generally my elbow is a little bit tighter. There's less space for the underhook. Make sense for everybody? All right, guys, hands up on 2.